Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the March 27th Oklahoma City Planning Commission meeting. If you have pagers, cell phones, or similar devices, if you would either turn those off or silence them now, we would appreciate that. If you are not the applicant and you wish to address us on a case, we have sign-up sheets on the table outside the chambers. They look like this. If you would complete it for the item you would like to be heard on, we would be happy to hear you when we hear the item. Commissioners, first item of business is the March 13th Planning Commission minutes, if there are no changes.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Cast your votes. And the minutes are approved. Next item is continuance requests.
Okay, there are 3 uncontested continuance requests. Item 4B4, PC 10366, defer to April 10th. Item B36, CE 877, defer to April 10th. And item 37, which is SPUD 736, has been withdrawn.
Is there anyone here today who came to talk to us about any of those items, number 4, 36, or 37 on our agenda?
Move the uncontested requests.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the uncontested request. Cast your votes. And that's approved.
Okay, there are 12 new requests for continuance. Item 3, which is PC 10367, defer to April 10th. Item 13, SPUD 758, defer to May 8th. Item 17, C6589, defer to April 24th. Item 20, PUD 1529, defer to April 24th. Item 21, SPUD 757, defer to April 10th. Item 22, C6586, defer to April 24th. Item 23, C6566, defer to April 10th. Item 24, C6539, defer to April 10th. Item 25, PUD 1530, defer to April 10th. Item 27, C6587, defer to April 10th. Item 28, SP 468, defer to April 24th. And item 30, C6583, defer to April 10th.
Again, is there anyone who came today to talk to us about any of the 12 items just read? You need to come to the microphone if you want to address us. We need your name and address, and if you pull the microphone down, please.
This is in regard to case number 1530, correct?
Which item was that on our agenda? I don't recall.
25.
25?
Number 25?
Yes.
Okay. It's supposed to be referred on to April the 10th instead?
Yes.
So I don't need to talk with you about it today? Is
No,
that
we'll hear it on April 10th.
on the 10th? Okay. That's why I wanted to make sure. I didn't hear very well.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? Take a motion?
Move approval of the continuances. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the additional continuances. Cast your votes. That's approved. Before we get started on the agenda, I think we'll likely be done by 4 o'clock today, but 2 commissioners have to leave sharply at 4, and in the event we don't reach the end of the agenda, we will be adjourned. Just for a heads up there. And now we'll go to the cases for individual consideration. Oh, wait a minute. One question. Any requests for continuance from the public? Okay, thank you.
Okay, under public hearings, there are no items on the consent docket. So under item B, items requiring separate vote, item 1 is C6554, final plat of Palermo Place, Section 1, located west of Western Avenue and south of Southwest 134th Street.
Good afternoon, David Box, 522 Colcord Drive, here on behalf of the applicant. The applicant is also here with me, as well as Chris Anderson and Bob Gum. This is a final plat. It was continued for several months, and we're now finally back. This is a piece of dirt that the Commission knows very well at this point. This final plat is in conformance with the preliminary plat. At the last time it was on the docket, staff had asked us to amend it, incorporating the common area, as well as submit a letter identifying the amenities and the phasing of that, all of which has been done. We do require a variance, and it deals with a secondary access point for subdivisions over 30 lots. As you can see on the exhibit on the board, it's really a temporary variance. As this thing phases out and gets developed, there will be multiple points of access. So it's a short-term variance. We do agree with the rest of the TEs, and we'd ask for your support, and here to answer any questions.
Is there a reason, David, that you wouldn't agree to build no more than 30 lots until you had a second point of access?
Well,
Why do we need the variance is my question.
We had originally had a layout that didn't have some of the lots.
Right,
Staff had asked us
understand.
to put that in, and because of some sewer issues that Mr. Anderson can explain, the way those lots on the south would work, we need this package to be in place. Otherwise, we'd be carving out random lots throughout, and it just wouldn't make much sense going forward.
Okay.
But we do have now it tapers, but Southwest 138th is an extra wide boulevard style entrance. Now it tapers as it gets closer, but it's a substantial entrance into that residential portion.
Okay, before we go forward, Roland Tague is signed up to speak on this.
Let me ask, can I ask him a question real quick,
Sure.
Mr. Chairman? David, are you eliminating lots 11 and 12 as stated in the T's, number 4?
Yes, we're going to, that TE number 4 we're in agreement with.
So that makes you have a total of 33 lots now.
33. What we have to do is there are some easements out there that we have to work around, and we understand that.
So it'll bring you from 35 down to 33 lots. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay.
My name is Roland Tague. I'm appearing here for the oil and gas interests. My address is 100 North Broadway. You've seen me here before on this application representing the minerals. There's been a change since the last time. The foreclosure was completed. The property went to sheriff's sale. The sale has occurred, and there is a new owner. The new owner's name is Short Junction Incorporated, and they're proceeding with plans to drill additional wells on this, not this particular plat, but possibly depending on where that is ultimately located. The engineer, or excuse me, the geologist is here if you have any questions about our future development. But our major concern is that there are easements for, there is a blanket easement for oil and gas interests. There are actual lines that are located. One goes under Southwest 138th Street, that access road. There is an existing line that runs along the northwest edge of the lots, which are designated 12, and then if you went south, I guess that would be 13, 14, and 17. Along that edge, there is also a utility easement proposed in the plat, and the existing lines and the utility easement conflict. There's also on the southwest corner of the plat, in that designated as Block 2, there is a line, an active line that goes through the lot that's designated as CA-B through the cul-de-sac and on across to the west edge of the plat. There are no easements for utilities shown, no easement for the oil and gas interest shown, and we're concerned about the development of this with those lines existing.
Roland, what percentage interest does this company that purchased the interest out of the bankruptcy court own in the unit?
John, I don't know what percentage. They seem to have, it's my understanding, they have the vote to drill these additional wells, but it has to be proposed to the unit, as I'm sure you understand.
So at this point, they're not the unit operator.
No, they are the unit operator.
They are?
Yeah.
And is that by virtue of a court order, or how did that come to pass?
Well, excuse me. They are, the unit operator before was Trey Resources. They were hired by Wynn Holbrook. He is still the receiver, but he probably will be discharged within the next 2 weeks or so. But the company that purchased this interest at the sheriff's sale is, in effect, the Trey Resources people that did that.
And Holbrook was a trustee for a debtor.
Well,
No, he was the receiver appointed by the court
he was the
for the
receiver.
assets.
And I'm confused now, Roland. Before, I understood that he was the receiver in this action and that he, in essence, was your client.
Yes,
So is this Short Junction now your client?
yes.
Okay. Okay. And that's the only interest you're representing? in
That's
Short
correct.
Junction? Thank you.
I'll have Mr. Gum address any specific questions, but what I'm told is there's no way that they are the unit operator. They just bought it on the 19th. There had been no way in the last 8 days for the unit to have a vote to put them in the position of the operator for the unit. They may own the interest via the sheriff's sale, but they are not the unit operator.
Well, I'm not one of gas attorney to say the least, but it's my understanding that we can plat this all day long, and they're still protected. They can still, their lines are where they are, and we can't, the applicant can't build on them until they're relocated. If they want to drill, they can make drilling arrangements. So I guess my question is, and maybe this is for you, Dan, I don't see how not platting this makes any difference to the oil and gas interest. That's a private matter, and they're going to do what they're going to do.
That's correct.
Thank you.
That's sort of what I was driving at as well. We have a variance. If there are any other people in protest of this item, I should ask quickly. Any other comments, commissioners, or questions? We have a variance to TE number 3.
Move the variance to TE3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the variance. Cast your votes. And that's approved.
Move the application.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item number 1. Cast your votes. It's also approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 2 is C6588, final plat of Merritt Industrial Park, located east of Morgan Road and north of Northwest 122nd Street.
Is the applicant here?
Mr. Chairman, this application before the consent docket was taken out of existence was on the consent, and it's consistent. I don't know what the applicant can tell us. Maybe he can, but I think it should be approved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item number 2. Cast your votes. It's approved. Thank you.
Thank you all. Go back to sleep.
Items number 3 and 4 were continued. Item number 5 is ABC 803, an application by Wilshire Shooting Sports LLC for an ABC2 overlay of the I-2 district located at 615 West Wilshire Boulevard.
Give us your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Jeff Swanson, 1607 Dorchester Drive in Nichols Hills.
Tell us a little bit about your project, please.
You bet. We are opening what we consider the next evolution of indoor gun ranges. It's called Wilshire Gun. With me is Jane Moran. She's one of the co-founders, and also Matthew Moulton. Matthew is our manager of instructional training and safety. Matthew brings with him 23 years of military service as an Army captain, as well as 7 years as police officer with the City of Edmond. Basically what we're doing, and the reason here before you is to request an ABC overlay for a little over 3,000 square foot of our 38,000 square foot facility. This is Wilshire Gun, and while it's not new around the country to have one of these next evolution of almost entertainment destination type venues for indoor shooting sports, we are certainly the first in Oklahoma to have this type of and this safe of a facility. It's about 38,000 square foot, and what we're asking for is approximately 8% of that to be designated for use for this ABC overlay. Shooting and alcohol do not mix. Nor are we advocating that, nor are we saying that, recommending that in any way, shape, or form. And in the brief minutes that I'll explain to you, I'll simply tell you that the safeguards we have in place, we feel are much safer than even any restaurant in the state of Oklahoma with current laws. Once you come in, we encourage you to go to all of the ranges, which are monitored with range safety officers. They're monitored with cameras. They're monitored with wounded war veterans who are servicing and watching everything going on within inside all of the ranges. After you're done with your shooting for the day, and you're completely done with that, we encourage you to go over to the small cafe we have. It's a few hundred square foot, but it's a nice small cafe, as you can see in the front lower left-hand corner of the graph that you're looking at. And the ABC overlay next to it is the cafe seating area on the first and the second floor, where we would like to be able to serve alcohol and have drinks in those areas, as well as in the private lounge area that you see further to the right on that graph. There's a private members-only club in that area. Once you order a drink, as you all know from your personal driver's license, there's barcode and scannability to all driver's license in all 50 states now. It'll be scanned in with our technology, moving right on. And again, this is just what the indoor gun ranges are doing in other states across the country now, with similar type of alcohol and restaurants and shooting sports all in an indoor facility. But your driver's license is scanned in. You are then completely locked out of the ranges for the rest of that day. Likewise, you are not allowed to, there will be no drinking and shooting, no drinking while you even have a firearm on you. You will be requested to remove and secure your firearms from all of the designated area before you're ever given a drink. In addition to these safeguards, which frankly I wish even restaurants would go this far, but all of our employees are trained. Matthew and his team of safety officers will be instructed to train them on the standardized field sobriety testing, which goes far above and beyond even alcohol to detect any type of impairment, any red flags at all that would question in any way, shape, or form whether someone should be allowed to be on our ranges. We think we've put complete safeguards in place to ensure that this is safer, like I said, than even current laws allow for restaurants in our state of Oklahoma.
Okay, thank you.
What type of ranges are you going to have? What can I shoot there?
You can shoot from small, well, you can shoot archery all the way up to 50 caliber. We have segregated groups of lanes you can kind of see that are, some are 25-yard, two groups of 25-yard groups of lanes that are separate, completely separate. Even the air ventilation lead abatement is separate from the other lanes. And we move on from 25-yard to 35-yard, and then eventually there's 6 lanes that are 100-yard indoor. It's the first of its kind in the state.
And that 100-yard range is where I can fire rifles?
Yes, sir.
And up to 50?
Up to 50 caliber.
Commissioners?
And is this just going to be a private club, or is it open to the public?
No, it's open to the public. We will encourage memberships as well, like all, well, I say all, like most indoor gun ranges do. But we're open to the public as well. We actually have a one page that says our alcohol policy is bulletproof, as we've coined it, with some information on the technology and the scanning ability and the point of sale system that helps us red flag and prohibit anyone from entering the range. If anyone wants to see this information, Ms. Moran can pass that out. The information there attached goes on to explain how it's scanned, and everything goes through this computer system. This computer system has been designed, it's a national point-of-sale system, designed by NCR for ranges just like this. Oklahoma certainly isn't the first state, far from it. There's many, many, many states and many indoor gun ranges that have a nice small cafe that does serve alcohol after they're done shooting. In fact, I just got off the phone with the Governor's Club in Atlanta, Georgia before I came here. Theirs went through similar planning in September of 2012. They opened a few months later. They've had absolutely zero incidences whatsoever. The safeguards, like I said, go on above and beyond what current law requires, and we feel that is absolutely our safety standard.
Well, yeah, I can see that I can do all, or a lot more than what you allow me to do at the restaurant down the street.
Exactly.
So I'm not concerned about that. Safeguards look more than adequate to me.
Any other discussion, Commissioners? Motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 5. Cast your votes. And it's continued for 2 weeks. We don't have a full board here today.
Okay.
Takes a majority of 5 of the commission for an approval.
We will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
thank you.
Item number 6 is ABC 804 by JP Properties for an ABC2 overlay of the C3, UD, and TT districts located at 730 Northwest 23rd Street.
Hi, my name is Jared Friedel, 4525 North Georgia Avenue. I'm one of the owners of the property at 730 Northwest 23rd. That will be the future home of Gaides.
Tell us about how you plan to operate. You have a rooftop
Yes, we have an
area,
open-air rooftop patio as well as a full-service restaurant.
and you're planning a music venue?
No music venue.
No music?
We're not going to have any live music. We will have speakers upstairs.
And what type of kitchen do you have?
What type of kitchen?
Yeah, what's your kitchen going to consist of?
It's a full-service kitchen. I'm not quite sure what you mean.
Well, my question is, this is a relatively small space, and I know you have the roof to work with, but by the time you put in a full kitchen and the other support things, it didn't look like you're going to have a whole lot of footage to work with, and I was just wondering if you were going to have a full kitchen.
Yes, we do. We will have a full kitchen.
Full kitchen, full
Yes,
menu.
sir.
Thank you.
Do you have access at all to the parking lot behind you, across the alley?
We're right now working with CSL to try to work on their parking. We've talked to their corporate office and still waiting to hear back from their board. Their managers have told us they will not tow us if we do park there, but we've also locked down parking across the street, and we have opportunity to get more parking with them across the street also.
I'm a little concerned, I guess, about the outdoor music. There is a residence next door, is it?
Yes.
And then one sort of catty corner behind you.
Yes. We do have 3 walls on the rooftop. The only unsecure wall will be facing north. It'll be the only open-air wall. So the south, east, and west all have walls that are 8 foot tall. So hopefully all noise will be funneled out towards 23rd.
What's your capacity?
I believe it's 170.
Hi, I'm Ken Fitzsimmons. I'm the architect with Task Design, and the capacity right now is about 140. We've asked for an option to have a front patio, but that was continued. That was prior to them getting securing parking northwest of the site. It would be at the northwest corner of Chartel and 23rd, and they have 30 spaces in agreement right now, written agreement, and they're working on getting more there and possibly, as he mentioned, at CSL. And as far as to address the noise concern, there is no live music upstairs. I think somehow there was a rumor going around about that. And if they have, with the speakers up there, they would comply with the noise ordinances. That was our proposal.
I didn't misunderstand that it would be live, it's just the noise.
Gotcha.
You know.
Okay.
And you said you have 30 parking spaces currently
Yes.
secured?
Yes, and we have the opportunity to get more parking from the same person.
We do have, before we take any action, we do have 2 people signed up, just so.
I want to ask one question. You say you have I understood you're having a full-service kitchen?
Yes.
But what type of menu items are you talking about having?
Right now we're calling it elevated street food. It's basically wraps, sandwiches, pizzas, and salads and appetizers.
Okay, thank you.
And you do realize that with this ABC2 that you're going to have to, your receipts are going to have to exceed 50% food?
Yes. Yes.
You're going to meet that?
Yes, sir.
What's happening with your front patio?
It's not showing this picture, but we tried to get a front patio along that retaining wall from UDC, and we got continued on it because we didn't have parking then. Now we've secured parking. We're going to try to get our patio back.
Okay,
My name's
we
Wayne
have
Allen.
Excuse me, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm the co-partner. My name is Wayne Allen. I live at 3732 North Chartel, and I was just going to help answer that a little bit. It was pretty much just a second phase. It wasn't something that we were intending on doing right away for multiple reasons. So.
Okay, John Reisenberg. Tell me if I misspoke, John. Is that the right?
It's John Riesenberg, but nobody ever gets it right. My address is 2128 Northwest 26th Street. I'm here representing the Uptown 23rd District, which stretches from Broadway to Pennsylvania on Northwest 23rd and includes the proposed location. I believe our board has also submitted a letter of support. Our goal at Uptown 23rd is to promote the vibrant community in Oklahoma City's historic Uptown District. And we've been meeting regularly for the better part of the last 2 years and working towards that goal. And Jared Friedel has been an active member of our organization since the beginning. He's demonstrated that he can be a great neighbor and community member. He's a regular member of our beautification committee. He's volunteered for numerous projects, including us use their building to help construct our mobile park, and was even out last weekend for a couple hours on Sunday picking up trash for our Open Streets event this weekend. We think he's done his due diligence to secure parking for the restaurants, and so speaking for the board, we believe that he's demonstrated that he can be a productive and responsible neighbor as well as business owner, and we support the approval of his application.
Okay, thank you, John. Hugh Mead.
Hi, my name is Hugh Mead. I live at 820 Northwest 22nd Street, which is just about half a block west on 22nd Street from the location of the restaurant. I agree that these guys, they've been in communication with the neighborhood. I think they intend to be good neighbors. However, I oppose the approval of this ABC overlay, in part because they will be open until 2 a.m., 7 days a week. I think that there would be less concern on my part, and we have offered to them that maybe they could reduce their late night hours. They've indicated that it's part of their business plan to take advantage of the fact that other restaurants are not open that late. Human nature being what it is, the parking that they've secured, which I certainly appreciate, is across 23rd Street and across Chartel on narrow sidewalks. Human nature dictates that people are going to park in front of my house. People are going to come to their cars at 2 a.m. in front of my house. And having spent the 90s in Atlanta during a period of similar growth and development, I think retail and restaurants are great for the neighborhood. I think being open until 2 a.m. every single day is excessive.
Any questions of Mr. Mead? Thank you.
Thank you.
David DeWitt just signed up. In the nick of time.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Name's David DeWitt. I reside at 901 Northwest 22nd Street, Apartment B, Ward 6, 1 block west of this address. I wanted to thank Gayutes. We're really glad that they've chosen to locate their business next to our neighborhood on this 23rd Street corridor that's been empty. But I wanted to comment that I share some of the concerns that Mr. Mead had about the noise from the parking. We've been in touch with Gayutes, and we relayed to them that we understand people will probably park in our neighborhood because it's more natural to park on Chartel and 22nd than it is across 23rd. But what concerns us is the late night exits from the bar, the people walking back to the cars at 2 a.m. And we'd be more comfortable if they weren't open that late. And as for the noise on the second level, we understand that there's established decibel codes for C3 and HP and how the HP would supersede. And we're concerned about that, but we're excited that Guyutas has pledged to get a decibel meter and monitor their noise. But we're still concerned, and I'd like to point out that other rooftop bars in the city, such as Packard's on 10th or so, closes the rooftop at 11, I think after complaints by the residents. So I don't know how to go about this, but we're really interested in knowing if there's any recourse if the permitted 50 decibels of noise is too much to bear for the residences trying to sleep 300 feet away. I don't know if y'all can give me any direction on that, or we're just at the whim of the code enforcement and the noise codes.
There are probably some options to be considered. An SPUD would allow us to set hours of operation, for example. That would be one avenue for the applicant to take, where there could be an agreement that 2 a.m. is too late 7 nights a week, that close to a thriving neighborhood.
And we don't want to be an impediment to their development, but we also really want to watch out for the own livability of our block. And so we don't want to be, or I don't want to be preemptive in trying to control hours and control noise if it actually is not a problem, if people really do go park across 23rd Street. That's why I'm more interested in knowing if there's any recourse as opposed to being a roadblock now.
Well, the recourse would be a lot more difficult than having an SPUD in place in the first place. I'm usually pretty good at counting around the horseshoe here, and my guess is that an SPUD is going to be what the Commission would prefer, because I sense a concern about something on the south side of 23rd Street being open that late as an ABC operation. It's really for the applicant and us to discuss. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. And for the record, Leonardo lives in the southwest corner of 22nd and Chartel is against it on the basis of people parking in front of his house and having late night loud departures. Okay, he just bought in Mesta Park. Thank you very much.
Would you consider an SPUD application which would allow us to tailor your operations a little bit to help us ensure that you're in fact a good neighbor as you want to be? We don't question that, and we certainly don't want to prevent you from doing what you want to do.
One of the reasons we're staying open past 10 o'clock is because a lot of the service industry does not get off until 10 or later, and there's no viable options for them to eat at. We're trying to create a healthy alternative for them to eat at.
Well, it's the 2 o'clock, not the 10 o'clock that's the issue, and we're not saying 10 o'clock. But your neighbors are saying that they're very concerned that you would be open as late as 2 a.m. 7 nights a week, and that would be potentially a significant imposition on them.
I mean, we do plan on complying with all noise ordinances. We are going to have a decibel reader. We're going to do everything we can to try to keep the noise down.
Okay. Commissioner Gales.
Mr. Chairman, we continue to hear things on 23rd Street, and the underlying complaint usually is parking. These guys have addressed parking, and frankly, I'm getting tired of hearing about parking on 23rd because it is what it is, and we want redevelopment there. So I'm for you guys in that respect. The two things that trouble me about this application is the hours of operation and the fact that you have rooftop and you're going to have music. It may not be live music, but you're going to have music. I really believe you need to look at your plan and see if it's possible to put some limitations on maybe the music on the roof and the hours of operations. Regrettably, with our ABC laws structure, we're not allowed to do that within an ABC application. So that would require what the chairman is suggesting, bringing it back in an SPUD and setting those limits. I would encourage you to do that.
Okay. And as far as the rooftop's concerned, the rooftop's not heated or covered. This is not going to be a year-round thing. This is going to be maybe 3-4 months out of the year.
We understand. We know the Oklahoma City weather just as you do. So my suggestion, at least, if you're willing to do it, is to take a continuance for what, JJ, 4 weeks, and submit an SPUD that would address the concerns that we have. The hours of operation is the significant one, and concern about the impact on the neighbors with noise.
4 weeks would really put us behind schedule.
You're not going to get approved today, is what I can tell you.
Okay.
That's the problem. I mean, I'm counting noses here.
Can I ask what hours you guys would prefer us to have? Is it midnight? Is it 1?
My suggestion on that is, you know who's involved with the neighborhood, talk with them and see what
we
works.
have. They want us to close at 10.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Well,
Where,
again, that's not. We're not going to negotiate that here, but I would 10 may be a little short, but talk with them and see what you can do and come back. Absent that, we can forward with this today. I suspect it will not pass, and it'll be continued for 2 weeks anyway. So, your option.
Yeah, I guess we'll take the continuance and talk to the Mesta Park residents again and see if we can come up with a plan.
Okay, we need a motion for...
I move that we continue this application for 4 weeks to give them time to iron out the information that we asked them to...
And come back with SPUD.
And come back with SPUD.
The date, 4 weeks, it would be the second meeting in April. What's the date?
24th.
24th, April 24th.
Okay.
We have motion and second. Cast your votes. And the item is continued to April 24th. Thank you.
Item number 7 is ABC 805 by Vicky Hua for an ABC 2 overlay of the C3 district located at 9101A South Penn.
Hi, my name is Ni Nguyen. I'm a manager of the restaurant, and I'm here for the ABC overlay for the 9101A South Pennsylvania.
Is your restaurant in operation now?
No, sir.
And it will be a full-service operation, full-service restaurant when you open?
Yes.
Commissioners?
Personally, I'm excited about what you're doing because of the type of establishment that you're opening, which just happens to be one of my favorite choices for dining. So I would move approval of this application.
Second.
Todd's it by your house?
Very
Thank
close.
you.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve item 7. Cast your votes. And you're approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item 8 is PUD 1531 by Oklahoma City Urban Renewal Authority to rezone 226 Northeast 10th from PUD 668 and the FP overlay to PUD 1531.
Good afternoon. Tim Johnson, Johnson & Associates. On behalf of the applicant, Oklahoma City Urban Renewal Authority, and here with me is Kathy O'Connor, as well as representatives from General Electric, who will be the occupant of this PUD. The application is a collection of refit of various pieces of property that have been controlled by the state. There's going to be some vacated streets, and so we've included this all to clean up the property that will be completely used by the General Electric Research Park, and to have it under one zoning. And as you know, this was part of the old PUD 668, which was part of the Research Park. So in preparing the application, we worked very closely with the General Electric folks and their architect, and we've included all the items that would impact their future uses on the site. We agree with the staff's technical evaluations. We do have an issue with item 3, the technical evaluations, where it talks about the sign height being 8 feet. The current language in the PUD 668 allows for a much higher sign for the research park. General Electric would like to maintain the ability to have a choice on that sign, although the anticipation with the location of the building as close to I-235 and the new off-ramp that's being proposed by ODOT, there would not be necessarily a tall pole sign at that location. Obviously, the building, as you've seen in the paper yesterday, the building is iconic and will represent the site well. The site does have a lot of fall across it. It does fall some 25 feet from north to south. And they just want to keep their options open as they plan this site plan out. They will come back before you with a site plan approval in which they would agree to restrict the site or the sign to whatever they present at that point as far as their sign package.
That sounds like pretty wide open to me.
Yeah. Well, it's intended to be.
And the current PUD would allow a pole sign?
No. The sign will be a monument sign. The height is 30 feet in the language. The sign, similar to the current Presbyterian Hospital signs.
I believe he's asking in the existing PUD what's allowed.
Oh, I apologize. I do not believe that a pole sign is allowed. The height of the sign type it doesn't specifically call it as a pole sign. I didn't bring the old PUD with me.
Well, Tim, I'm good with this application. I think you've been diligent on setting it up, the uses. I'm a little queasy on a wide open TE3 or any old sign we put in our rendering. Can we put in a TE3 that says sign will be evaluated upon plans and plan review or something along those lines?
I guess that's what I was trying to relate, is that we're willing to agree to that the sign will be, and I thought language was in the PUD that discussed the type of sign and what it would look like relative to along the lines of being architecturally connected to the building design. But we would include that we'd be willing to amend the TE to allow us to have a monument-type sign that would be designed in conjunction with the style and the architecture of the building, and that the height would be no higher than 30 feet, but the final sign approval would be as part of our site plan approval process.
Well, Tim,
if you say up to, but that doesn't imply that that's an absolute. I mean, for one thing, this building is, as you say, iconic, and the design is very good. It's going to be visible from 360 degrees. Any way you approach the site, you're going to see the building, and it won't be long before everybody in Oklahoma City knows exactly what it is, with or without a sign. So we'd like to look at it at the time of site plan review. The language could say up to 30 feet upon approval.
We would agree to that.
I would accept that.
Very good.
And
doesn't mean it will be approved at 30 feet. We'll have to see what it's going to be.
Agreed.
Okay.
my question is why we need 3 of them. Doesn't my staff report say that you can have 3 signs?
Yeah.
I don't see the need for that. But I also have another question for you. Looking at the list of permitted uses, eating establishments of various types, sit-down alcohol permitted and not permitted, and so on, and convenience sales and personal services under conditional use units are all indicated as permitted uses. But then under item 8.1.3, it says incidental commercial retail uses shall be permitted in conjunction with the office development. This is in addition to the above-mentioned uses, so sandwich shop, cafeteria, et cetera. I guess my question is, why in the technology park do we need restaurants, sit down with or without alcohol, that are more than just incidental uses such as sandwich shops, et cetera?
I think that's an excellent question. As you can see on the site plan, this is the first phase building. And then as part of the project, there is a future phase, future building north. There is space for future buildings on the southwest corner. Their main entrance will come off of 9th Street and Stiles. Urban Renewal Authority is proposing to improve Stiles with a streetscape project. 9th Street is being vacated, so this will become their entry. But there are other uses that are being thought about and projected on the site. That's why the flexibility is desired. Also, there is a plan to work together with Urban Renewal on a parking structure, and some of that first floor level of that parking structure could be some of these accessory uses that would be independent of the primary use of GE. So that's why we wanted to leave that flexibility in there. This is a big site with several potential buildings being proposed.
But you said accessory just then, but you don't really mean that. You want to be able to put a restaurant in there.
Right.
If you want to.
I said that would not necessarily be accessory.
So you're going to close the little round drive there west off of Stiles, but no up above, where you said they would have their entry?
9th Street will be.
You're going to close it, but you're still going to use it?
Yes, that'll be their primary entrance. As part of the street project that's being proposed, it will extend from Stiles Circle with a median, 2-lane road, and a signal at 10th Street. That'll provide better traffic control and allow people to enter and exit from the facility.
Well, so I guess my two questions together, I'm suspecting, I guess, that the reason that we need 3 signs is because we may have restaurants on the site.
Yeah, but I think we'd be okay with limiting the large sign to one large sign. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, Tim, say that again.
Yeah, we'd be okay with limiting that to one of the larger signs. The rest of them would meet your monument, 8-foot monument, 100 square foot.
Nick?
Okay, to be clear, the large sign we're referring to, Tim, is basically the destination sign. It's the identifier for the research center itself. And as I said before, I looked at these uses, and I thought you were pretty diligent in getting it down. With a project of this magnitude, I didn't see any of those uses that weren't appropriate for something like this. I just think the magnitude of the project allows for, or should allow for about anything in here that we're seeing. I think you took out the things that probably need to be taken out.
Tim, let me ask you a question. GE will control this entire tract, not Urban Renewal, once we approve this today. Is that correct?
Well, once they close the property, they'll control it. Now, there'll be an agreement. If there's a shared use of the parking structure, obviously there'll be an agreement. But the intent is to close this property.
But in terms of developing the other potential parcels as a part of this application, once they close on the land, it's GE's
That's
decision.
Correct.
Well, they're not going to put a McDonald's there.
No, that's right.
So they're going to...
Normally, Urban Renewal...
The whole property will still be under a redevelopment agreement with Urban Renewal. So subsequent phases will still be subject to the Urban Renewal design review process and all of the different things we do.
And it comes back to us for site review as well?
That's what the PUD says, yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, so the only other questions I have then are about the communications antennas and broadcast towers. Is that something we really need to have on this site?
We talked about this in length, and because this is one of their international research centers, one of 7 in the world, they want the ability to have communication, probably not antennas, but more dishes and things like that to allow them to work in real time with their other facilities.
James?
My concerns were primarily with the signs and some of those uses too, but I think you've cleared it up. I didn't realize that. I was thinking that the whole research park, everything that would be developed was developed as accessory uses or uses that would pertain to the research park itself. But the way you have explained it, that's okay. The signs, I didn't look at this as a destination where people would be looking for this like a retail or something like that. I feel like people would know where it is, so I didn't see any use for the 3 signs. But since you've narrowed it down to 1 sign and that you'll come back to us for the final approval of the sign not to exceed 30 feet, I'm okay with that. So
I want to say up to
30 feet.
not to exceed,
Yeah,
specifically in the TE number 3.
Okay.
And if that's agreeable.
I move that we approve the application with the modifications.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 8, rewording TE3. Cast your votes.
Thank you.
And you're approved. Thank you.
Item number 9 is PUD 1527 by Lincoln Plaza 6 to rezone 4345 North Lincoln Boulevard from C3 and I2 districts to PUD 1527.
Good afternoon, David Box, 522 Colcord Drive, here on behalf of the applicant, who is also here with me. This is a PUD that's going to provide for a great opportunity of a redevelopment of a building that has sat vacant for quite some time. We do have some renderings that were submitted as part of the PUD. This is the old Lincoln Hotel building, and what Mr. Tannenbaum is proposing to do is turn it into a mixed-use development with multifamily and then some commercial and possibly some restaurant uses. We've added some balconies and other architectural features on there that we think really enhance the building, will enhance the place along Lincoln Boulevard, and we think it's exactly what the comprehensive plan calls for, and we think it'll be a great opportunity for the Lincoln Boulevard corridor. We're here to answer any questions. We'd ask for your approval.
Commissioners, no one signed up.
I like this idea a lot. I'm not crazy about there being fast food capability on the site. Is it something that you feel like you really have to make this deal work?
Right. What we did was we only included the one that doesn't allow drive-through. So it would be a self-contained type of restaurant, but without knowing what possibilities are out there, we wanted to provide as much flexibility while limiting it as well. That's why we took out the drive-through, but to still allow us that capability. But I hope the Commission will agree, we took out a significant number of uses. In fact, staff had to stretch onto 3 pages the number of uses we took out. So we tried to limit it extensively.
That is the one concern I have about the uses that remain. And the other question that I have for you, the idea that you're going to redevelop the site that's there is sort of one thing, and let's all hope that's the way that goes. But under both facade regulations and platting regulations, there's sort of at least the possibility contemplated that, what will happen if this building goes away. And I think, we would want to have, site plan approval and platting possibly in that event. So I would like to see, that one conditional, maybe as a TE, that if the existing building is no longer there.
We have agreed. We put language in the PUD that if the existing building is demolished, we'd have to come back for specific plan review.
Okay.
So we have accounted for that.
Okay.
But like you said, we don't anticipate that happening.
Let's hope not.
Yeah.
And I'm not concerned about a potential restaurant there. That's not unlike what goes on up and down Lincoln now on both east and west sides, all the way up to 50th Street. So
I agree. It's not uncommon along the street. It's just in terms of this particular use that was my concern about it. But
if I lived there, I might be happy that I could walk to a restaurant. I don't know, but possibly.
Once it's done, we can show you a unit.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no protesters, one thing I'd like to see is a sample of the metal panels that you're planning on use. Maybe you could submit that so we can take a look at that before they're approved.
Sure. It's the architectural metal panels that are kind of commonplace now in development. But the renderings that you see, that's why we provided the detailed renderings in our packet.
I still like you submit the panel.
Yeah, we can certainly do that.
To the staff for prior approval, so we can take a look at those panels.
When you say prior to approval?
Well, prior to you developing your project, because I don't have any problem with the project. I'd just like to see the panel before you select the final panel to go on the building.
That's fine. We can submit something to staff.
Okay. And then Janice's concern, I think, is handled in 9.14.1. It talks about if the building is demolished, then a site-specific plan would have to be submitted for it. So with that, I'd move approval of the application with the modifications and the submitting of the architectural metal panels.
Second. We have a motion and second to approve item 9 as conditioned. Cast your votes. And it's approved.
Thank you.
Item number 10 is PUD 1528 by Prestige Custom Homes to rezone 14700 Hertz Quail Springs Parkway from PUD 302 to PUD 1528.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Dwight Butler with Anchor Engineering on behalf of the applicant. I have read the TEs and agree with all of them, and be happy to answer any questions.
One quick question, Dwight. There are a couple of pictures attached to our staff report here.
Yes, sir.
And they're different, okay, but very similar in design and style.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Is what we see what we're going to get?
Yes, sir. I was surprised about them wanting to see a specific plan. I thought I'd submitted enough, but I have no problem submitting a specific plan.
Very good. Any protest?
No protest.
Move approval.
We have a motion and second to approve item 10. Cast your votes. And you're approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item number 11 is SPUD 754 by the Homeless Alliance to rezone 1724 Northwest 4th from I-2 to SPUD 754.
Paul LeFevre for the applicant, 522 Colcord Drive. If I may, I'm going to hand out those are materials that you've already received, but they're tabbed as far as elevations and site plans, and perhaps ease of discussion here if there's any questions. But what the Homeless Alliance, with their campus at 4th and Virginia, are wanting to expand their campus with the addition of a 20-unit single occupancy group home, and we are very happy to try to answer any questions that you might have, but we think this is of citywide significance and importance.
No one signed up, Commissioners?
Move approval of the application.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 11. Cast your votes. And it's approved. Thank you.
Item number 12 is SPUD 755 by W. Harvey Sparkman to rezone 1540 Southeast 29th from R1 to SPUD 755.
Once again, Dwight Butler with Anchor Engineering on behalf of the applicant. Happy to answer any questions. We do agree with the TE.
Dwight, is there a good chance you'll leave some of those nice trees on the east and south corners of this property?
Well, there's a creek back there that Army Corps of Engineers is probably going to tell us we have to leave those trees.
Good. No one signed up, Commissioners?
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 12. Cast your votes. And you're approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item 13 was continued, so item 14 is C6584, preliminary plat of the Gardens at Westgate, located north of Southwest 15th Street and west of Check Hall Road.
Good afternoon. I'm Kendall Dillon with Craft & Toll, representing the applicant, and this is a preliminary plat on small 4-acre tract. I think there are 7 TEs that we're in agreement with. We're in compliance with the existing zoning and would ask for your approval.
We do have somebody signed up on item 14. Let's hear from Stacy Fanning. And Stacy, if you tell us your name and address for the record, please.
Stacy Fanning. I live at 12220 Southwest 14th Street. And I have some concerns about the square footage of the duplexes and what the selling and rental price, because that entire neighborhood is single-family homes. And we have concerns about what that's going to do to our property values as far as putting in 28 duplexes on the small 4-acre lot. There's also a line of evergreen trees that have been there on Patco Drive that lead into West Creek Estates. And I've lived there for 17 years. We bought the home when we were 20, and we've helped take care of those evergreen trees and would like to know what's going to happen with those and the trees along the creek that are behind there. There's also concern that they have the Garden Gate Drive coming out onto Patco Drive. I don't know if there's any possibility of the entrance to there being moved on to Check Hall Road. There's a traffic problem. It doesn't show on there, but the entrance to an elementary school is right diagonal from that exit on Patco Drive. And there is a traffic problem already on Check Hall with parents trying to turn left and right into the school, diagonal from people trying to pull out of the neighborhood, trying to go to work, and then you're going to be adding Garden Gate Drive, people trying to pull out into that traffic that's already backed up. So there are some concerns as far as the traffic goes as well.
Where is the school exactly?
Right. The school actually sets its Mustang Trails Elementary, and it actually sets facing Southwest 15th Street. The parents have to drop off their kids on the side entrance on South Check Hall Road, and the entrance that they have to drop off their kids is just where that comes out. Patco Drive is just right straight diagonal.
Okay.
So you've got parents turning left and right, and it's hard to pull out. So we do have some concerns about.
I understand the layout now. Thank you. Any questions of Stacy, commissioners? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kendall, what size are these units going to be?
Sure. I don't think I'm able to speak to the size or the rates today. I just simply don't know that answer. As far as the trees go, obviously our intent, there are some cedar trees along Patco Drive on the north side. We'll try to salvage as many of those as we can. Obviously, some of them be disturbed with the entrances, utilities, but also we'll adhere to the landscaping plan. We're going to do the landscape buffer up and down Check Hall and those sort of things. The trees on the north, there is a FEMA floodplain that's incorporated in the common area. There are trees there that will not be disturbed. And again, in regards to access, I think if you look at it, number one, Patco Drive's a collector. It's designed to take access off of. I think traffic-wise, it's a better situation having it off Patco than it is even putting it on Check Hall. So, and again, it's R3 zoning currently, so it would allow up to quadplexes. We've got 14 duplex lots, and like I say, we're inconsistent with the zoning and ask for your approval.
Yeah, I mean, I share her concerns about traffic. I know there are issues there at that intersection, especially during the school, hours in the morning and afternoon. And I think you're squeezing a whole bunch of units into a little plot of land, but if you think you can do it, I guess that's up to you. And I had the same concern about the trees, and I don't think you're encroaching on the trees to the north at all. So with that in mind, I'll move for approval.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Nick.
Second that motion, but I will also point out this is a plat, not a zoning case, so when we get into the size of the lot and all that, it's already zoned for, frankly, a higher density than what they're proposing. And as far as from a plat standpoint, I don't see how you could lay it out much better. So.
Yeah, and I agree. I think what we're getting is better than what we could be getting there. Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 14. Sorry, you want to come to the microphone again, please?
Once this is approved, I'm new at this, so since this is preliminary, what are our options as far as discussing the size? Because 28 lots is a lot to put on that small part of land. I'm new to this. Petitions, anything going to help at this point?
Once it's approved by the city council, in other words, we're a recommending body on zoning.
No.
Oh, this is
a
preliminary
plat,
plat. I'm sorry,
Tom.
never mind. It's already zoned.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just approving the layout of lots.
Layout, okay.
And that would come back to us again for final.
To answer your question, your concern is that basically we're putting duplexes in here rather than single-family homes.
Yes.
That is an issue to be addressed at the zoning level, and this land is already zoned.
For that, okay.
And what happens to be zoned for R3, which is a higher density. They're putting R2 density in. Under this existing zoning, they could actually put in fourplex type things and a lot more density.
Okay.
So from a
Thank you for that. I appreciate. I'm new at this, so
discussion standpoint.
thank you.
And I don't know when this was zoned, some time ago,
Yeah.
but the place to raise that concern was at the zoning level, not at the plating level.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
We have a motion and a second to approve item 14. Cast your votes. And it's approved.
Item 15 is SPUD 756 by Drakestone Partners to rezone 8400 North May from SPUD 586 and PUD 199 to SPUD 756.
Mark Grubbs, Grubbs Consulting on behalf of the applicant. What we have here is a piece of property that's currently zoned by a SPUD on the north and the PUD on the south. The SPUD on the north is 1.96 acres and strictly permitted for a bank, a financial institution with a drive-through. On the south, the PUD is a R4 zoning of 14 that allows 14.84 duplexes per acre. So that would roughly equate to about 38 units that would currently allow for. We're proposing a upscale residential single-use SPUD with 18 units. It'll be gated, 10-foot wall completely around surrounding the site. We'll have parking on street and public utilities. We have met with the Nichols Hills suburban neighborhood on 2 occasions, on November 21st and December 12th. At the November 21st meeting, there was bad weather, not enough people there to take a vote. But on December 12th, they voted. There was 22 individuals there. 21 voted in favor of, and 1 abstained. After that, they went and took an email vote on this. There's 73 current people in the HOA. There were 46 votes. We got a 44-2 approval on the application as proposed. As far as the comments on the staff comments on the SPUD go, I've spoken with JJ about item 2, the maximum perimeter wall height shall not exceed 8 feet. They're very persistent on the 10-foot. It goes up to the roof plate. It's going to be a noise blocker. It's a lock and leave concept. It's a visual consistency and uniformity and security that they want. It's modeled after the Glengate addition on 63rd, just I think it's west of Grand Boulevard. And we just also, there was the comment that I discussed with JJ, the existing healthy mature trees on the east side of the site, as construction would allow, we'll keep them if we can. We're putting up a 10-foot wall. We're proposing a 10-foot wall. And it'll be a masonry wall with a stucco finish. They've taken the liberty to do a semi-visual representation of what that wall and that entry would look like. If you're not familiar with the Blaine Gate Edition, upside down, this is what it's almost an identical representation of that. The street will have two 20-foot lanes with 18-foot of parking in the middle for anybody that would visit them. They'll also have the garage parking. So, be happy to answer any questions.
We do have someone signed up. Go ahead, Nick.
Well, I'd like to get staff to weigh in on TE2 and why we need 8 instead of 10.
I'm not overly concerned about the date between 8 and 10. It just seemed, when I was reviewing it, it just seemed like a 10-foot wall along May Avenue would be a little bit overpowering. But if it's going to fit in with their design, I'm not too concerned about that.
I was thinking apartments on May Avenue might be a little overpowering. Let's hear from the protester.
Okay. Jeff Whitmarsh.
Hi, my name is Jeff Whitmarsh. I'm at 8501 Surrey Place. My property backs up to I'm to the east of what they're planning. Actually, I really don't mind their setup. My scare would be things like, our water pressure in the neighborhood, sewage, drainage from rain. I grew up in my house, and even as a kid, our backyard, which is a little over half acre, would get really kind of swampy, and I kind of worry maybe about, I've seen other homes in the neighborhood go up, and they seem to kind of put a mound up before they build the home. I do like the 10-foot wall, I have to say. And other than that, just traffic coming off of Elmhurst there. There's a school and a church there, Christ the King school and church, a lot of traffic through there. And maybe my concern, too, of people avoiding that heavy trafficked area, having to go down my street. But that's pretty much really it. It's my first time hearing it. I didn't ever get any messages for the previous meetings. So I'm just concerned of, I didn't really know what their plans were so that this is all new to me also.
Well, you do live in a pretty flat area, so the marshy backyard is no surprise.
Right. So I'm just curious as to how all that was going to be laid
Mark,
out.
in that regard, you might address drainage.
Yeah.
Because
we are proposing, this detention is required for the area, and we are proposing an underground detention system within the common area, which the street is serving as a common area and private drive and public UE. We're proposing an underground detention facility that will tie directly into the storm sewer, so we're going to keep as much of it.
Okay, so you're basically going to collect your water and
That's right. Keep it underneath the street in an underground detention system and discharge it that way.
That's part of the problem with this area as you go back east. There are no storm sewers. We just have ditches.
That was the main concern of all the residents that we met with, and also just the traffic, and it was heavily discussed, and they agreed that Elmhurst was acceptable to them. So we got more acceptance on Elmhurst than anything else. And so.
Mark, one thing that we don't have in our packet are elevations. Is this going to be a conceptual unit addition? I mean, will all the homes be of similar style?
I can ask the applicant that. I do know approximate size on the first floor is going to be 3,000 to 3,600 feet. So an upscale area. You want to speak to that? This is Chris Candelaria, the applicant.
Chris, give us your name and address, please.
Chris Candelaria, 8512 Surrey Place. I live right behind the development that's proposed as well. The homes in this development are all going to consist of the same exterior materials: cast stone, stone, rock, a matching brick, a blonde brick that matches the ivory buff cast stone. Very little stucco, and then true slate roofs, a dark gray slate roof on all homes. The covenants and bylaws of the development are very, very strict. All the homes in there will have to go in front of an architectural review committee, as well as once the homeowners association is more established, they will also be able to weigh in on the design. But there are going to be very, very strict covenants that go
So
along.
you're going to control the materials, but not necessarily the design in terms of they're not all going to look alike or whatever.
They will all have the same materials. They will have to use the exact same roof, the exact same color cast stone, same brick. So the consistency, much like the Glengate neighborhood, it will all be uniform. The roof pitches will also be uniform to have a very similar look to them, so that you don't have a flat roof in between two 10-12 pitched roofs. An example of what we're trying to steer away from would be the Nichols Gate that was off of Wilshire and May Avenue. Different materials in the entire development. You didn't know what was going to be built next to you. For us to keep the properties and the square footage prices at a higher end, we want to control all those aspects of the building. So therefore, the strict covenants as well as the review committee for every single house.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, what would be the size homes are you looking at?
They're approximately 3,200 to 3,600 square feet. Now, there will be some two-story homes in there, but when I say two-story, not a traditional two-story, it will appear as a one-story house. You might have a dormer, bonus room upstairs, maybe an office, but nothing more than that.
Thank you.
Chris, the way I hear you talking, these are going to be lots for sale. You're not going to develop and build these out.
We will, our main objective is to sell the lots. We are also a commercial and residential builder. We also develop commercially. We will build 3, 4, maybe 5 of them, but we will open up the development for others to build in there. But that, again, will have a specific list of builders that are allowed due to their reputation in the area, so that we maintain, again, the quality that we think this development deserves.
Any other protest?
No.
No approval.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 15. Cast your votes.
I'm sorry, I meant to change that TE to a 10-foot.
From 8 to 10.
Okay.
TE2 from 8 feet to 10.
We'll do it again. We have a motion and a second to approve item 15, amending TE2 to a 10-foot wall.
Second.
Cast your votes. And it's approved. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
And item 16 is the accompanying plat for that same project, which is C6585 for Drakestone, north of Wilshire and east of May.
Mark Grubbs, Grubbs Consulting on behalf of the applicant. Again, we agreed to the TEs. I will just go ahead and clarify that I have spoke with Nathan Madenwald, Water Wastewater. He has requested that we do 15 feet on the west side, and we have agreed to 12.5 feet, and he agreed with that. Agreed with me on that this morning before the meeting. So we agreed to the TEs.
Anything else? Commissioners, no one signed up.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 16. Cast your votes. And it's approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 17 was continued. Item 18 is C6575, preliminary plat of Forest Village Estates, located south of Northeast 36th and west of Bryant.
Mr. Chairman, I want to recuse myself from this.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Dwight Butler with Anchor Engineering on behalf of the applicant. I have read the TEs and do agree. I would just like to clarify TE number 5, if I may. It mentions the fence being built around the perimeter, and since we are phasing this, I agree that the fence should be built per phase, but I don't want to have to put a fence between phases that I have to tear out when I continue the next phase. I just wanted to clarify that make sure everyone's on the same page. For instance, if I build halfway up the north-south street.
You don't want to close off and I understand what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
We're clear with that. That's fine.
Okay, just wanted to make it good for the record. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
No one signed up. We have a motion and a second to approve item 18. Cast your votes. It's approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item 19 is C-6562, the revised preliminary plat of Sycamore Gardens located north of Southwest 15th and east of Check Hall Road.
Good afternoon. Chris Anderson with SMC Consulting Engineers representing the developer. As most of you realize, this is a replat of a portion of an originally approved preliminary plat that was approved back in 2004, I believe. There have been two final plats that have come forward from that preliminary plat. But since that time, the original preliminary plat expired. At that time, the developer asked me to look at redesigning the remainder portion of this plat to kind of clean up some areas that he decided he really didn't like. And so we've done that, and we've read the TEs, agree with the staff report, and request approval of the plat.
No one signed up.
I'll move for approval.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 19. Cast your votes. And you're approved. Thank you.
Item 20 was continued. Actually, items 20 through 25 were continued, so we're on item 26. PUD 1515 by Chisholm Creek Development to rezone 13121 Northwestern from R1 01 02 C3 PUD 712 and PUD 321 to PUD 1515.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission, my name is Kelly Work, and my address is 105 North Hudson, Suite 304, Oklahoma City. I'm here representing the applicant, Chisholm Creek Development, in connection with this PUD 1515. This approximately 156-acre site fronts on Kilpatrick Turnpike. It has frontage along Western, and as you can see on the site map, it will have a road extending and providing access to Pennsylvania as well. So we'll have access from those three major thoroughfares: the frontage road along Kilpatrick Turnpike, along Western, and along North Pennsylvania. This is a rezoning of PUD 321, which was approved in 1988. And then, as you see, there are two additional tracts that are zoned 02 and 01, respectively, that would be incorporated into this new PUD 1515. The existing PUD 321 that was approved in 1988 is a mixed-use, both commercial and multifamily residential development that allowed many and most of the same range of uses that we are requesting be included in this new PUD. What Chisholm Creek Development is proposing for this site is a mixed-use, master-planned community that is designed to create a dense, urban-style development, and with an emphasis on promoting walkability and with public gathering spaces to try to encourage interaction among visitors and residents of the area. We have a number of exhibits that we would like to make available to you. Mr. Tim Johnson of Johnson & Associates is also here on behalf of the applicant. And he's provided you with a handout that I think it may be helpful just to let you see, we have some conceptual images that we'd like to show you just to give you an idea of what this developer, Chisholm Creek Development, has in mind, what they're envisioning for this area. This first one just gives you an aerial view of the site from the north looking south, and it just gives you an idea. What is contemplated is that in this interior portion there would be a core area that would include both office, commercial, and residential. And then we've got some entertainment uses that are planned, including one that we're seeking your approval for today, the Top Golf use that is proposed for the frontage along Northwestern at the south end of the property, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But let me ask Tim just to switch that out we have some additional views. Here's another view of that same conceptual drawing of the development looking to the west from the area east of Western. And this gives you an illustration of where the proposed Top Golf facility would be located, and then just how it relate to the other facilities, the other development. This is planned to be a major employment center. The objective here is to create a community by Chisholm Creek Development. It is expected that it will be a 10-year or longer build-out for the entire area, but it's ready and ripe for development, and we feel that the provisions that we have included in the PUD are appropriate. The Tract 1, we've divided the PUD into Tract 2 and Tract 1, and I'll ask Tim to put that exhibit up. The Tract 1, this is Tract 2 here on the south edge, which is this portion here. Everything else will be included in Tract 1. Tract 1 contemplates the mixed-use development, which would include office, retail, general commercial, residential and entertainment type uses, residential including multifamily, and restaurant type uses as well, in addition to the entertainment uses that are being contemplated. Now, with respect to Tract 2, that is the proposed Top Golf. Top Golf is a relatively new concept. It is growing. There are approximately 10 locations in the country presently, I think some under construction right now. Top Golf is a sports entertainment facility that features microchipped golf balls that are able to be tracked so that both the location and the distance of the ball is tracked. And there will be about 102 driving bays on 3 levels, and the object of the games is to aim the golf ball towards targets that are in the outdoor field, and then the microchip technology tracks the golf ball, and the points that are scored then are displayed at a monitor that will be, or maybe perhaps more than one monitor, that is at each bay. And it has just been wildly successful and very popular. And the nearest one, I think, is in Dallas. I had just had occasion to visit the one in Austin late last year, and it was overrun with visitors and is very successful. The Top Golf has said that it expects to hire between 400 to 450 people to operate this facility, 100 of which approximately would be full-time jobs. With this PUD, we are asking for approval of that Topgolf entertainment use, including the proposed restaurant and bar. So that would be part of the operation. And so a site plan, a floor plan has been included in connection with the ABC2 request and has been submitted to staff as part of the application. With regard to the residential uses for both tracks, the concern has been expressed, of course, about the extent of the multifamily and the wanting to ensure that the development that occurs will be the mixed-use development that we plan and that is contemplated. And so what we've done in the PUD is we have provided that any residential development will be required to be linked to office and commercial development using a ratio that will provide in the PUD that 1 unit of residential will be allowed for each 500 gross square feet of commercial and 1 unit of residential for each 250 gross square feet of office development. So the objective there is to ensure that the residential development and the office and commercial development go hand in hand, and that we get the office and commercial development along with the residential. Also, we have placed an overall limit on the number of residential units for the entire 156-acre tract to be 1,200 units. We included some language there that just would say if the desire and if the density of the commercial and office development warranted at some point in the future a greater number of residential units, that it would require, and we would have the opportunity to come back and request an amendment to the PUD. And of course, then the Commission would have an opportunity to determine whether or not additional residential units were supportable and warranted. We've placed, now under the current PUD, the current PUD 321 that has been in existence since 1988 does allow for multifamily residential. It also allows for extensive signage along the frontages of both Western and the Kilpatrick Turnpike. And so we have, in the new proposed PUD, placed limits on signage, including a restriction that there will be no pole signs permitted. All of the signs that would be allowed will be monument-type signs. We've limited both the number and type and size of signs that would be allowed. We do have provision that there would be a limit of 2 EMD signs along the Kilpatrick frontage that would be limited to 100 square feet in size each. And also a concern had been expressed about the messages on those EMD signs being displayed for an adequate period of time so as not to be a distraction. So we've included language that the minimum message display time for those 2 EMD signs would be 16 seconds instead of the standard 12 seconds. So we've attempted to address that concern in that fashion. I want to talk for just a few minutes about the staff recommendations. We have been in communication with the staff with regard to the TEs, and I can tell you that there are just a couple that we need to have some discussion with you about. We are in agreement with number 1. We are in agreement with number 3. Additionally, we will be eliminating as a permitted use gasoline sales, small, restricted, which is the 8300.46 use. There's been some discussion about that. It just had not yet been removed, so we will be removing that as a permitted use unit. We've arrived at some modified language with respect to number 4 that we're in agreement with. I understand staff is agreeable with that modified language. It's been provided to them. We're in agreement with 5, 6, 7. We've slightly modified the language with respect to number 8 to provide that the sidewalk and pedestrian system plans would be provided with respect to each specific plan and not on a master plan at this time, just because we're not able to provide it with respect to the overall development. But we certainly will provide that with respect to each specific plan as the development progresses. And then also we modified that language to provide that a sidewalk would not be required on the south side of Highland Boulevard in the area that abuts the city-owned detention pond. So it's there at the western end. That detention pond is going to be fenced off. We will be providing a sidewalk on the north side of Highland Park Boulevard there, but it was felt that a sidewalk on that south side was not necessary, and I understand that staff is in concurrence with that request.
Can you show us on the rendering where that would be?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
This is Pennsylvania Avenue on the west edge, and this is extension of Highland Park Boulevard there. And so along this section there, adjacent to the city-owned property, the sidewalk will be provided only along the north side and not along the south side.
But on the rest of it, going east and up to where it connects with Pawnee, there'll be a sidewalk on both sides?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Is that correct, Tim? Is that the intention? Tell me what. I may be mistaken about that.
Address that on our site-specific plans, because there are some areas there may not need to be a sidewalk on both sides of the street, and so that's why we'll show that, and in the cases we do need it, it'll be shown up on the site-specific plan.
That's fine. I was just thinking I didn't want to see sidewalk break, sidewalk break, sidewalk break. And
it'll be a continuity. That's why we wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. We're in agreement then with respect to number 10. We have agreed to some modified language, which I understand the staff is agreeable to. We're agreeable to number 11. And we are agreeable with respect to, on number 12, to have that schedule of phasing for all of the required traffic improvements to be resolved with the Public Works Department prior to the PUD going to City Council. That work is underway, and the discussions are underway, but we will have that resolved prior to City Council. I understand the staff is also in agreement with that. Now,
I think we might want to see that come back to us as well.
let me let Mr. Johnson address that issue.
We've been in conversation with Public Works regarding that, because since the original traffic study was done by TEC 4 or 5 years ago, the city now has projected projects for both Penn and Western to improve Western, add a signal at where Pawnee will come out on the city's nickel, and they'll improve the signal at...
That's on the East Memorial or West?
No, it's on the western leg at Pawnee on Western.
Oh, okay, I see south. All right, there.
The city has a project that's being prepared to go to bid to widen Western and improve a signal here.
Okay.
This signal at Highland will be modified to include the fourth leg. The only question lies with this intersection at Pawnee and the Turnpike Frontage Road, and the study at the time recommended a right turn, protected right turn at that frontage road. Our conversations right now with the staff are dealing, and we're doing an additional study at Eric Winger's request to determine the timing of when those come on board. At our first site plan, or site-specific plan, we'll be able to address the timing of those.
Well, I guess my question goes back to that traffic study that TEC did a number of years ago.
Right.
and how that purported to function if it were to be constructed. Is that still part of anybody's plan?
Yes, we're using it as the basis. The only question involved is the timing. Their study was done assuming the entire development was done today. And what we're doing is programming out the timing of this intersection of Pawnee and this potential improvement here.
Are they expecting the Turnpike Authority to move the exit ramp?
No.
The eastbound exit ramp?
No, that's
Are they
off.
talking about doing additional lanes coming
No.
off?
No,
So-
the only additional lane would be the protected right turn lane, if it's warranted, and then it would only apply a signal on the south frontage road and the north frontage road.
So they're no longer thinking they're going to try and run traffic off of the eastern-bound Kilpatrick, wrap around?
No, that's completely off the table.
Thank goodness for that.
So we're working on what was really the original study that had to do with the improvements that I just spelled out. And at the time, the developer was going to have to pay for all of these. And now that the city's involved in this, that they're participating in some of it, we're only calculating the timing of the rest of it.
Okay, well, if you're talking about the two traffic lights on the different ends of Pawnee and the one right-hand turn lane,
Yes.
anything beyond that, I'd like to have come back here if it relates to this project.
At this point, we're not anticipating.
Tim, how about back to sidewalks? Do you have sidewalks along the service road and Western?
Yes.
On the north side and the east side?
The PUD would require that.
Okay, that's what I thought. Just want to make sure.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission, the only two TEs that we are unable to agree to are number 2, which is suggesting that all residential development shall be restricted from the area of the PUD located within the employment reserve area, and then TE number 9, which is the staff's recommendations with respect to signage. With respect to number 2, we certainly are respectful of the objectives of the employment reserve area, and it is our intention to be a major employment center, and we feel that we've adequately addressed that. We do allow residential to be located at any place within the PUD currently, but it will have to be done in accordance with this ratio that will require office and commercial development to go hand in hand with the residential. So we feel that the objective will be met, and we want to, that's what we want to have. We want to have the mixed uses. We want to have the commercial, the ability to have the commercial on the ground floor and residential above, and have office and residential in close proximity so that it's walkable and that kind of urban density. So, and then with respect to number 9, we have given a lot of thought to our proposed sign package, and we would request that the sign package be as provided in the PUD. Now, it might be good to remember that under the existing PUD, under PUD 321, it provided for 14 pole signs along the western and Kilpatrick Turnpike frontages. And of course, part of that property is now out with the hospital, but there at least would be the ability under the existing PUD to do a dozen pole signs along 4 along Western and 8 along Kilpatrick frontage, and we've significantly, for one thing, we've eliminated pole signs as an allowed.
Kelly, I think you're probably pretty good on your sign package without reminding us of that. I don't think that helps us.
Sure. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. We do request that those 2 TEs, number 2 and number 9, be deleted, and we're in agreement with our language that we've worked out with the staff on the others.
Okay, Nick?
Mr. Chairman, are there any protests on this?
No one has signed up.
Well, let me weigh in on this and see if we can get through it. I agree with you, Kelly. TE2, I believe, with the residential ratios required, plus the limitation on residential on the entire tract, I believe that's now addressed in the PUD, and we can probably eliminate TE2. TE3, you're taking those out, you're taking some additional things out, so I think we're okay there. When we get over to TE9, your statement was, well, we want to go with what's in the PUD on signage, and there have been so many changes to the PUD and very recent changes.
Yes, sir.
I want to be real clear what we're talking about for the sign package. The sign package in the PUD as we originally saw it, I think, had a 450 square foot EMD sign. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about limiting the signs to the large signs to 30 feet tall. We're allowing EMD on 2 of those signs, one the major retailer sign, be used primarily for a major retailer of 100 square feet, and the other limited to an identification sign for the entire project, and that is limited to 100 square feet.
Yes, sir.
And if I've stated that correctly, and you agree with the major signs are 30 feet monuments as indicated in the rendering. The square footage has changed on the EMD down to 10 by 10, well, or 100 square feet. And
Yeah.
with the proviso, and when we were having that discussion, I said, well, you could have 100 square feet, 1 foot wide and 100 feet tall. Obviously, we don't want to see that. But with those changes, I'd move approval.
Secondary user signs now will also be 8-foot monument signs as opposed to anything that would have otherwise been.
And that's provided.
That's now provided.
And that revised language has been provided to the staff today, so thank you.
Second.
The other thing I'd say is this has been a protracted deal. We first saw this 3 or 4 years ago. It's now come to fruition. We've had several good meetings. I want to thank Kelly and Tim and the applicants. They've done a good job. They've come forward, and I'd sure like to see this thing built.
Well, and I'd second that. Appreciate all the work that you have done and that the applicant's been willing to work with us to get this to a point where we could go and have a 10 or 15-minute presentation today and approve it. With that, we have a motion and a second to approve item 26 as conditioned. Cast your votes. And it's approved.
Thank you very much, and we appreciate your kind remarks, and we thank you for all of your hard work and efforts on this application.
Items 27 and 28 were continued. Item 29 is C6564, final plat of Austin's Quail Springs Office Park, located north of Memorial and east of Portland Avenue.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, Brian Kuhn with you as always representing the applicant. This matches our preliminary plat that has been before you before, and there's 5 TEs, and we agree with all of them.
No one signed up, Commissioners? We have a motion and a second to approve item 29. Cast your votes. And it's approved. Thank you.
That's it.
Item 30 was continued. The next 2 items, item 31 and 32, are both ordinances to be introduced and set for public hearing on April 10th. The first ordinance amendment is for the zoning and planning code and that affect the historic preservation districts and the historic preservation guidelines.
Need a motion to set?
I move there was second.
Okay, we'll hear this on April 12th.
10th.
Cast your votes. Item 31 is approved.
And then item 32 is an ordinance to be introduced and set for public hearing on April 10th. This is also related to the zoning and planning code. It affects design review districts for stockyards, downtown design review, urban design, and riverfront districts.
Move to set.
We have a motion and a second to set item 32 for the 10th of April. Cast your votes. And that's approved.
Item 33 is a resolution recommending approval of the proposed Second Amendment to the Court Shore Urban Renewal Plan to the City Council.
I don't know about that.
Dustin, I guess you're elected.
Dustin Akers, Project Manager of the Alliance for Economic Development, representing Urban Renewal. Happy to answer any questions that you may have on the Second Amendment.
Well, just one quick question. We looked at this in a study session. I assume it hasn't moved. It's
Same as we
thing?
presented in the study session.
No change.
No other discussion, Mr. Chairman. I'd move to adopt.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Item 33, cast your votes, and it's approved.
Thank you.
Item 34 is an ordinance for public hearing amending the zoning and planning code. This is in regards to allowing backyard chickens on lots less than 1 acre. And Ken Bryan is here to go through what the ordinance is outlining.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm with the Comprehensive Planning and Urban Design Division of the Planning Department. I'm going to go over a couple of the details with the proposed code amendment related to backyard chickens. Just quickly how we got here, a couple of notes on background. Last year we worked through a series of code amendments related to urban agriculture and gardening. It wound up being separated into 2 items, one related to primarily gardening and farming, and one related to backyard chickens. That particular chicken ordinance allowed chickens by right zoning as a conditional use. That version of the proposal was not approved by City Council for a variety of reasons, and they recommended an alternative approach to address some of their concerns. Earlier this year, 3 council members recommended that alternative approach, which I'll go over in a minute, and sent the item back to Planning Commission. In February, we looked at this in the Urban Development Committee and at Planning Commission and set the date for the public hearing, which lands us where we are today. So the revised proposal is to establish a new use unit called animal raising chickens, and it'd be established as a special exception use. And it would apply in all zoning districts. The conditions associated with this use are the same as they were in the original proposal that we worked on last year. I'll just highlight a few here. No roosters on parcels less than 1 acre, maximum of 6 chickens, sheltering and access to an unpaved outdoor area are required, are restricted to the back and side yards of the property, and the shelter must be well maintained. Special exception uses have an approval process that's associated with the Board of Adjustment. There's an application fee. As it stands now, the code amendment proposes a $25 fee for this type of use. Property owners within 300 feet of the property are notified in the same way that zoning cases are notified. The applications are heard at the regularly scheduled meeting of Board of Adjustment, and where they can consider input from concerned citizens and the applicant. Decisions from the Board of Adjustment can be appealed, and I believe those go straight to district court. Additional conditions can be applied on a case-by-case basis for each application. The application, if approved, is attached to the property, not the property owner. So if the property changes ownership, that use would be in place. If the use is not established within 12 months, the approval for that special exception expires, and anyone interested in doing that use would have to reapply and go back through the process. That is all the salient details that we could think of at this point, so I'm happy to answer any questions. I believe a couple of our enthusiasts are here as well that helped us work through the process last year.
Do either of you have anything, or any 3 of you, anything you'd like to say to us? Is this? Well, come to the microphone, please. I need your name and address. Pull the mic down, please.
My name is Sarah Braden. I live at 1143 Northwest 38th Street, Oklahoma City.
And my question would be, my first question, does the applicant need to come to the Board of Adjustment meeting to show up for, when?
Well, to make application, you don't. If someone were to protest the application, you would want to appear and defend your application.
Okay. So how, and would the applicant know that someone was coming? Well, I mean, would the applicant be alerted to the fact that there was a letter of, against the application, or?
You just need to come.
I mean, I think effectively you would have to show up.
It would be
the only
good for
way
you to show up.
Mhm. I mean, I certainly would
Support
show
your
up.
application before the board. Just like you saw the applicants today come here, the Board of Adjustment works the same way. Yes, you are making an application before the Board of Adjustment for this special exception, which is frankly what I object to. I don't think that should be necessary. But that's another issue. We'll talk about that in a while. But yes, you should come and present your case to the board and tell them why you want your chicken.
Ken, is that what was contemplated?
That applicants would come to the Board of Adjustment?
Yes.
To apply even if there were no protest?
Sure.
How are they going to know there's no protest? People show up at the Board of Adjustment all the time, right? I mean, you're never going to know that.
It's always advisable for an applicant to come when they have something to be heard.
Okay, good. Because I'm concerned because, for instance, someone who wants to have a dog just goes and buys a puppy and they don't have to miss work to show up to the Board of Adjustment. So I personally would certainly show up to the Board of Adjustment, but I'm just concerned about other people who want to have chickens.
Well, basically the way this ordinance is structured, you would make application. It would be set for hearing. Notices would go out to anyone within the notice area. And then any of those people, or frankly anyone else, maybe I'm just opposed to chickens in general, and I live 20 miles from you. If I see a chicken case, I can show up and protest your application. So you need, that's the purpose of it. It's a public hearing for people to come and be heard. So yes, I would highly recommend the application be supported by the applicant at the hearing.
Okay. So, for instance, if you showed up and you live 20 miles away from me and you say, and you're against it, what if someone else shows up who is a friend of mine who says, oh, she should be allowed to have chickens? Are those going to balance each other out?
Well, that goes before the board for their interpretation and decision.
Okay.
And that's, well.
Yeah. So that's kind of, those are some of my concerns. I don't understand how it's going to work, and so, but thank you.
You may not be entirely alone in that position.
Not sure I understand how it's supposed to work.
Well, John, you did your turn on the Board of Adjustment, as I did.
Ask a question of our staff member here? The special exception is not you meet all the boxes, you check, therefore you're entitled. It really is an application where, as you said, it's possible for the board to impose additional limitations and conditions on the special exception. But in reality, however many people out of 10 go down and they apply for their chicken license and they get it, and the 2 or 3 or 4 or 10, I don't know, people who draw protest are down in front of the Board of Adjustment and they're saying, I want chickens, and somebody else who may or may not live next door to them is saying, I don't want them to have chickens. So, I mean, what exactly is there for the Board of Adjustment to decide there, other than somebody cared enough to show up down here and protest, therefore what?
I'm not sure. I think we've kind of covered the bases as far as the conditions that we've established in the use unit itself. And I know that the Board of Adjustment can have additional conditions. I'm trying to imagine what those would be. I don't really know, and maybe someone else.
The board would have the discretion that they'd have at any other special exception.
So we could say you can have chickens, but you can only have 2.
Yes.
Or your pen has to be bigger than anybody else's.
Has to be large enough. We think it needs to be larger.
exception's a lot like a use on review, like a special permit. So you can impose conditions on the use that may mitigate a neighbor's concerns. If not, then you just vote it up or down.
You can have chickens, but they have to speak Spanish. I mean, what's the...
I may have obviously missed this before, but I thought the rule was no roosters, but you said if you're over an acre, you can have a rooster. Is that what you said?
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't think I did say that, but what I intended to say was for parcels an acre or larger, there's no change in this code amendment, doesn't have any change to the current condition, the current code for that, which does allow roosters. Now, there's quite a few conditions associated with those.
Okay.
And I don't know what they all are.
Doesn't change the rules that are in place
Doesn't
now then?
change.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
The only thing I know is that the council wanted to kick this back to us because they couldn't get it or didn't get it resolved there, and they were just trying to develop a mechanism to allow people to apply, and if someone had a concern, they would have a forum in which to protest. And they wanted to see how this system would work. That's
Mr.
what
Chairman.
the feedback I've gotten. That's all I can tell you.
I believe that was the intent. I'm not sure this ordinance hits that target. To require, and I don't care if you're pro chickens or against chickens, you can argue this ordinance as either being, because the way it's structured, it's to say you can't have chickens because basically it's such an onerous thing. I have no problem with the conditions in the ordinance about the number of chickens and all that. What I have difficulty with is that it's a special exception and the hoops that people have to jump through to get it. And then I don't know what the criteria will be for hearing that protest. If I show up and I'm the next door neighbor and I protest, does that get an automatic denial? If I'm 2 doors away, if I'm 20 miles away, this is not like other special exception things the board hears. So one argument could be, well, it's the council's intent to make it so onerous that we will have no chicken. And if that's what they want to say, I think they're in a position to say that without this ordinance. The other argument is, well, here's a way to do it and let everybody have their say. And I just think it can be done a better way. If we want chickens, take the special exception out, leave the ordinance intact like it is, and approve chickens on less than 1 acre with these conditions. If we don't want chickens, let's throw this whole thing out and leave the ordinance as it is. That prohibits chickens in less than an acre. The irony is here that we have chickens all over town right now in less than an acre. And yes, those people are technically illegal. And should they be cited, they will have to get rid of their chickens. I understand. And that's not a good thing. But I look at this ordinance as a hindrance rather than a help in that regard. I would frankly rather stay with my chickens being illegal, if you will, than have this process. I can support the ordinance without the special exception stuff and without going to the Board of Adjustment. I can't support it with that in.
Can I ask you, again, in the back of the room, obviously you're chicken people, I assume. Are you aware of a lot of instances where friends of yours or you have had chickens and neighbors have complained and they no longer have them? Has that been a serious issue?
Well, I have chickens, and my neighbors love them. And I did get a complaint against my chickens, and it was when I was in the newspaper and on TV, and I don't even have a TV. I don't even know what all I was on when I first brought this in front of City Council. And that was the complaint I got. And all of my neighbors said they didn't do it. All of my neighbors are crazy about my chickens. They think it's wonderful. They volunteer to take care of my chickens when I'm on vacation. So I had Channel 5 at my house today interviewing me about this meeting. They went into the backyard. The intern who was with the guys said, "Boy, I really thought that it was going to smell. I thought they were going to be noisy." She was shocked. She had never been around chickens before in her life. So I don't think it's a huge complaint thing unless people have roosters. You know, I would love, I don't know if this is the forum for this, but I would love code enforcement to give us some information about how many, because we do have chickens all over the city, how many complaints they get each year, and how big of a deal is this really, and how many of those complaints are really just, you know, someone who has a rooster or someone who is not properly fencing their enclosure. I don't know if that would be interesting.
Okay, thank you. Nick, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, correct me if I'm wrong, or Dan, you correct me if I'm wrong, but right now, if I have chicken and I have a complaint against me and I'm cited, my relief to that is to appeal it to the Board of Adjustment, is it not?
No, it's to go to court.
Oh, I have to go straight to district court?
Municipal court, though, right?
Yes, municipal court.
Oh,
sorry.
municipal court.
I suppose the other options you could do is ask for a variance.
I could ask for a variance at the Board of Adjustment, couldn't I?
You could do that.
And so I guess what I'm saying is, under the existing structure, I seem to have two avenues. I thought I only had one, but now I have municipal court. I have two avenues to cure my problem. I can either take that ticket and appeal it to the municipal judge, or go make my case to the Board of Adjustment, which is what this ordinance is trying to make everybody do. Again, I think I'd just soon be illegal with my chickens.
And I'm not trying to advocate in favor of this approach necessarily. I guess one difference would be the cost that is involved in applying for variance. And I'm not sure that a municipal court judge can do anything for you.
Well,
if you've got chickens and they're against the law, then I'm not sure that they really are in a position to say, but I'm going to let you keep yours,
No, nor do I. Dan just mentioned I thought the avenue was to get a variance with the Board of Adjustment. But that's the other thing that I find somewhat ironic. At one of our meetings in support of the original ordinance, it was pointed out that this is a way to, not only have fresh food, but have a source of protein and all that, which I agree with, which can be a money-saving endeavor. Well, if I can have 6 chickens and I have to go make application to the board, I have to mail notices or pay to have notices mailed and do all these things, I'm going to have a small fortune invested in getting my special exception permit to save money to raise my own eggs. Now, people are raising their own eggs not to save money because they want to. I understand that. But that's another irony of this thing. It just doesn't need to go to the Board of Adjustment.
25 to appeal or 25 to apply? I understand that. But in Nick's scenario, if you have to go for a variance, come on.
What's the fee to Board of Adjustment?
We need to hear more about chickens. Give us your name, please.
My name is Aaliyah Woods, 1013 Northwest 32nd Street.
Thank you.
So I'm pretty sure none of us here think that this ordinance is a perfect solution, including myself, but I am in favor of it. And the reason for that is it's simply a way for us to move forward. If this ordinance was passed, it would give us a chance to see how many people do actually apply for a permit. It would give us a chance to see how many people object to it. It might be that over the next year or two, we would find out that it really isn't much of an issue, And over time, maybe that would open the door to providing a way for people to have chickens legally that would be simpler for everyone involved. So I am in favor of it, even though it's not my first choice. Thank you.
I think we've heard a little bit of wisdom there. Maybe we ought to just let it go forward, see what happens, and if it implodes, it does, and if it works, that's great.
How much is the fee to apply for the Board of Adjustment for this? What would the fee be?
Well, it's $25.
25? Okay.
No, but but in your scenario, Nick, if you are going for a variance, it's a different fee.
Like $750,000, something like that. I've forgotten.
That's what the variance.
1,200.
For a variance?
Yeah,
For the board
variance.
application?
Is how much?
1,200.
12 now?
Wow.
Yeah. $25 is less. I mean, I can do the math.
I
mean, it doesn't
understand
exactly
and
buy.
like the break for this application as far as the fee is concerned, but that's not the entire cost either. You still have the cost of mailing and buying the list, and we've discussed whether the cheap list is adequate and all that, but still there's costs. And her point was well taken. If I'm illegal now, and we pass this ordinance, and I haven't had a complaint, well, I'm probably just not going to come forward and go through all these hoops. If I'm then cited, I can always run to the board.
Yep.
Under the circumstances, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve this.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Cast your votes. And it's approved. Good argument.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just make one comment. The only reason I voted no on it is I believe the council has a better way to approach this and should do so when it gets back to them. Hopefully they will.
Those were the last of our items for individual consideration. 35 and 36 are continued and withdrawn.
Commission committees, commissioners, any comments today? Development Services? Municipal Counselor? Planning? Public? How about a motion to adjourn? And we're adjourned.